Equals. A cold morning mist clung to the fields of Buckinghamshire as Thomas Ellery stepped from the car. Before him loomed Bletchley Park, a Victorian mansion now humming with secrecy and purpose. The war had reached its second year, and Britain's fate wavered with every intercepted German message. Inside, corridors echoed with the clatter of typewriters, the smell of ink and damp paper mingling in the air. Men and women in worn tweed jackets hurried between rooms, carrying folders stamped "Most Secret." Thomas, a former student of mathematics at Cambridge, was led past a radio shack and into Hut 8, where the analytical minds of Britain struggled to defeat a cipher no human was meant to solve. A bespectacled figure greeted him softly. "Welcome to Bletchley. I'm Alan Turing. We'll need every sharp mind we can get." Thomas nodded, uncertain yet electrified, feeling for the first time that the war was no longer distant.
The heart of Bletchley was not the grand mansion, but the wooden huts scattered across its grounds. Hut 8 smelled of oil and damp paper, wires snaking across the floor like veins of metal logic. The Enigma messages arrived hourly, taunting fragments of German communication, each letter locked behind an impossible shifting code. Turing spoke rapidly, outlining his plan for a machine capable of reasoning faster than any human mind. Thomas could barely keep up, his pencil scraping madly across his notebook. Nights bled into days, the ticking of the clock aligning with the endless whirl of thought. "If we can just find one daily key," Thomas muttered, staring at the cipher patterns. Turing looked up. "Then we may save a convoy in the Atlantic. Every misstep cost sailors their lives." The pressure grew heavy, but hope flickered in the rhythmic sound of rotating rotors.
In a dusty side room, metal frames began to take form, shafts, wires, and drums arranged with obsessive precision. The bomb machine was becoming a reality. Thomas worked beside engineers from the post office research station, tightening bolts and checking circuits late into freezing nights. He learned to find beauty in symmetry, logic in chaos. The machine's mechanical heart would test thousands of Enigma settings in minutes, a creation born from desperation and genius. "It's not just math," Turing said one night, adjusting a dial. "It's strategy. We're fighting a battle of minds." Sparks flashed as the first motor whirred to life, a muted growl filling the room. Thomas felt a pulse of awe. This contraption, this strange fusion of metal and idea, could bend the war itself if it worked. Yet doubts gnawed at him. What if it never did?
Around Britain's coast, high towers caught faint German transmissions, snatches of words, numbers, call signs. These signals flowed into Bletchley daily, a flood of riddles taken from the air. Thomas and the team watched as clerks transcribed the latest intercepts, weather reports, naval orders, coded coordinates. Somewhere within them hid the rhythm that might unlock Enigma's heart. Alan leaned over the table. "Look for repetition. Find a human flaw." Days blurred into one another, chalk scrawls covering blackboards like battle maps. Then, one morning, Thomas saw it, an operator's mistake, a repeated weather code. "He reused the key," he cried. For the first time, optimism rippled through the hut, cautious but real. Outside, frost covered the lawns, but inside, the warmth of discovery burned.
As 1940 deepened, Britain endured nightly air raids. London burned, and every failure to decode cost untold lives at sea. Messages from the Admiralty became sharper. Progress must accelerate. In Hut 8, tension paled even the faces of veterans. Thomas felt the weight of unseen battles pressing through static and ink. Ministers visited unannounced, demanding explanations in crisp suits untouched by dust. "You're racing against torpedoes," one man warned. Turing simply replied, "Then we'll have to think faster." The young mathematician stared through the foggy window, the sky faintly glowing with distant explosions. Logic had never felt so fragile. Every calculation now seemed a moral choice, and every midnight coffee a defiance of despair.
Then, one rain-lashed night in late October, the bomb roared to life with new precision. Thomas and his partners watched as its rotors spun faster than ever, clicking in a rhythmic mechanical heartbeat. The room vibrated with tension. "We've got a candidate key," shouted an operator. Thomas deciphered the output, hands trembling. Words emerged, phrases that finally made sense. German fleet movements across the North Sea. The impossible had cracked, if only for a day. Cheers broke out briefly before silence reclaimed the hut. They knew. Tomorrow, Enigma would reset, and the cycle would begin again. Yet the chain had broken once, and that meant it could again. Thomas leaned back, exhausted, tears unspoken behind his smile. Hope had a sound, and tonight it was the hum of metal precision.
A week later, the decrypted messages saved hundreds of lives. British Admiralty redirected convoys UHX-37 and HX-48, avoiding lurking U-boat packs in the North Atlantic. For the first time, signals intelligence directly altered the course of battle. Thomas listened as officers read out the surviving ship tallies. Gratitude mixed with guilt. Lives were measured in ciphertext, their value hidden in decoded lines only a few could read. "They'll never know who helped them," murmured a clerk. Turing replied quietly, "They'll know we fought in silence." The mathematicians raised mugs of tea in quiet salute. Outside, dawn lit the frost on the grass, a cold, fragile peace between storms.
Winter draped itself over Bletchley Park like a shroud. Within the huts, oil lamps flickered against frost-glazed panes. The night shift was Thomas's domain now, calculations flowing under his pencil as snow fell outside. Music hummed faintly from a wireless, a lonely tether to the world beyond. He thought of friends fighting in France, of families huddled in air raid shelters. The code room was its own battlefield, unseen but relentless. One slip, one missed pattern, he whispered, and hundreds die. Yet exhaustion carried a quiet pride. This hidden war, fought with symbols and logic, demanded no medals, only endurance, only faith that someone, somewhere, would live another day because of it.
By early 1941, their successes multiplied, but secrecy remained absolute. Not even families knew the magnitude of their work. Thomas received a letter from home, his mother worrying he wasn't eating, asking if he was still teaching. He folded it gently, unable to answer the truth. Outside, more huts rose, filled with new recruits, linguists, cryptanalysts, and clerks. Signals flowed faster, and with them the ever-thickening fog of war. One evening, when a decoded message revealed the sinking of a German cruiser thanks to their work, cheers broke out before being quickly hushed. Silence was their honor. In that silence, Thomas saw the true weight of intelligence, knowledge powerful enough to win wars, yet too secret to ever be celebrated.
Years later, when the war finally ended, the gates of Bletchley Park opened to silence. The world celebrated its armies, but few knew the quiet victories fought with ink and wire. Thomas walked once more along the graveled path, the mansion standing peaceful beneath sunlight. Turing had already left, his genius sealed by secrecy. Thomas paused by the empty hut 8, hearing echoes of typewriters and laughter that once defied despair. "We broke the unbreakable," he whispered. Yet history would not speak their names, not for decades. But that was the price of victory bought in silence. As birds stirred in summer branches, Thomas smiled faintly, knowing the Codebreakers' secret would forever hum beneath the world they saved.